It's Monday morning. The first person on your team walks in, takes a look at their Monday boards, stares at them for a couple of minutes, and doesn't know where to start. The next person comes in and they're actually covering for someone else that's on vacation and they have the same issue. They don't know what tasks they need to do today. If these are things that you're commonly seeing in your business, then your setup is failing. In this video, I want to share with you the 4 places where businesses are failing to set up Monday.com properly. Hi, my name is Tara. I'm the founder of a company called Simple Day. We're Monday.com partners. Over the last 4 years, we've helped hundreds of companies set up and use Monday.com. If you need any assistance, feel free to get in touch. My contact information is in the description below. Before I jump into the 4 signs that your boards in Monday.com are a huge mess, I want to talk about why this matters. The first reason is that a messy board just doesn't come and announce itself being like, hey, I'm messy. But what happens is that a team slowly starts to distrust the information in it. Now, once a team starts to distrust this information, that means that they're not actually using it. So they develop a side system. Either they'll write it in a notebook, or they'll take out a Google Doc, a Google Sheet, or use another tool. So what happens is your team isn't trusting Monday because they don't feel that it's correct. And once they don't trust it, then they're not using it, which obviously keeps on pushing the first problem further because the information is definitely not correct if they're not actually using it. And then as a business owner, you have to think, how much is this actually costing you? You're paying for a tool that's not working, which is one issue. And another issue is that you don't have transparency into your business. What happens if that person who started writing all their notes on a notebook goes on vacation? How are you going to know what's going on or what tasks are falling through the cracks? Now that you understand why this is so important, let's jump into the 4 signs that are going to show you that your boards are really messy. And then I'm going to talk about how you can fix them. Sign number 1 is that nobody knows what they're supposed to do today. You can't open up a Monday board and see exactly what your tasks are, what's due and what's not. You have no sense of what's higher priority versus less priority that you don't need to focus on. Or is something due today? Or maybe it's due by the end of the week. And obviously this is going to cause issues because if you're doing work for clients, you don't know when it's due. Or if you're doing work for your team, you don't know who's waiting on you. So not having an understanding of what your priorities are and what you need to do today is a really big issue. And if you can't look at a board within 3 seconds, understand what your tasks are, what the priorities are, what should come first, second, or third on your task list, then you probably didn't set up your boards correctly and they're falling apart. Maybe because you're not updating them. But the good news is that there's a very easy fix for them. Every single board has to have a few columns, and that's going to make sure that you know what you need to do today. The first thing is that every single board has a column for a person. What that means is that every single task on that board is assigned to a person. So everything has an owner. Everyone knows what their task is. The second thing is that everything has a due date because you need to know when something is due. And finally, everything should have a priority because you need to know, is something really high priority or maybe it's a little lower priority. Having these 3 things on your board, really columns, is going to ensure that you need to know what you need to do today. Now, this also leads Monday to not only be a to-do list because it's action items with dates on when you should do them. I definitely recommend setting up a view, either something like my daily view or my weekly view. What I have is something called my daily view, and it's all the tasks that are assigned to me in order by priority and date that I need to do for this week, or I do it for the day actually. And it's things that I haven't done. So like whatever I didn't do is overdue. It gets pushed to the following day so I don't lose any tasks, but then I have a very clear list of the things that I need to do. The second sign that your Monday boards are a complete mess is that no one trusts the status columns. Now, I've seen people use up to 40 statuses, which is the max number that you can, but there is no reason that you should have 40 statuses. I don't care what you're doing, what your business is, and how you're running it, but there's no way that 40 statuses doesn't lead to total chaos. You should have basic things, not started, working on it, waiting on client, things that are actionable, that are deliverable, that you can understand. Things like almost there is not really a status. I've seen people mix status columns up with things that are like more like feelings, and it just leads to a lot of repeats. So here's the fix. Take the time to look at your status columns. Make sure that you only have a few actual statuses that A, people understands what they mean, and B, they don't overlap. I've seen so many people set it up where they have overlapping statuses and people just don't understand what it means. So make sure that your status column is really clear. So anytime anyone on your team opens it, they understand exactly where that task is in terms of what status it's up to. The third sign for you to know that your Monday boards are a complete mess is if you're constantly running the same reports every week or whatever time period you're doing it, but you're manually setting up those reports. So what that means is that you didn't actually take the time to figure out what type of things do we need every single week, and let's set up the boards to show us that information. Let me give you an example. I have a client that likes to see the tasks that we did and the time that we did every single week. Now, we can just easily pull this information from our task board. We pull the information, I grab a screenshot, and I send it to him. Now, I do need to hide certain columns because he just needs like 5 or 6 columns of the information that he wants to see. He doesn't need to see every single column on our task board. So in the beginning, what I was doing is I would recreate this view every single time, which is totally ridiculous. Once I started setting up this view, because it's something that I was doing every single week, week in and week out, I had the view and then I was saving myself time. And that was just one way to realize that my boards are working for me because they're tracking reports and information that I need. Every single company has some kinds of views, reports, dashboards, whatever it is, but make sure that those are set up for the information that you actually need to see and that they're useful for you. The last sign that your boards are a total mess is that you hear people saying, it's just quicker to do it myself. I don't need to put it in Monday. Now, not putting something in Monday is going to start this whole cycle of people not trusting your boards and then the information not being accurate, which you don't want. But the reason that people are saying this is probably because your boards are too complicated and you're putting too much information that they may not need to see. There probably are different people on your team and different people need to see different information. So my advice is to keep it really simple. Obviously, there's a lot of information that you need to keep track of and make sure that it's there. But think of your work process, think of the workflow and keep it simple. There should be powerful automations behind it, powerful things that are happening within Monday, but the work that people need to do in Monday, it should be kept in an easy way. So that way people don't mind going to do it. I'll give you another example of this is I have a lot of clients that have a million boards because they're managing a lot of clients and they never know where to look. So they're just jumping from board to board to board. So in their minds, it's just easier to write something on a piece of paper. They're right, because then they don't need to jump from board to board. Now, this is a sign to me that maybe there's a problem with their setup or they need a better dashboard. But the point is the same. If people are not using Monday because it's easier to do it by themselves, then you need to relook at that process. Maybe you didn't build it correctly within Monday, or maybe it's not something that needs to be in Monday. But be careful that you don't start this whole cycle of then people not trusting Monday because your boards are a mess and then not using it. And it's a shame because you're paying for a fabulous tool and you're not getting use out of the features to help you run your business more efficiently. I'd love to hear about how messy or clean your boards are. Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and remember to subscribe to receive tips and tricks on how to use Monday.com. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.